Hi, my name is Marisa Ferrera, and I'm a soul-centered relationship coach. Today I'm going to share with you 3 books that I've read over the years that have changed my life in some way. The first book is called I Ain't Much Baby, But I'm All I've Got. And that was a book I read in my early 20s, and it was the first book I read that really made a difference in my life. You see, at that time, I didn't have very much self-confidence or self-esteem, and reading that book really helped me learn to love and accept myself more and more. It was my starting point. I certainly did more work over the years to learn to love myself even more, but that book was really instrumental in putting me on that path to recognizing that even if I felt like I wasn't much, I'm all I've got. The second book that I read many years later is called Overcoming Perfectionism. And I went online to try to see if I could find the book, the exact book, so that I could share it with you. And I found a number of books on perfectionism, but I didn't quite recognize the cover of the book that I read many years ago. And this was another book that really changed my life because I didn't realize I was a perfectionist. And that book was given to me when I was struggling with, I was just struggling in my life, and someone suggested that book to me. And when I read it, I felt like somebody had been watching me my whole life. And one thing I learned in that book that really surprised me is that perfectionism is an addiction. It's just an addiction, just like alcoholism or drug addiction, except it's an addiction that's accepted by our society and actually encouraged. So sometimes it's very difficult to break. So I sometimes tell people I'm overcoming perfectionism. I'm a perfectionist in recovery. I still have perfectionistic tendencies that creep up from time to time, but learning how damaging perfectionism can be in relationships, it gave me the motivation to do something about it. So that book was very instrumental in helping me along my path. And the third book I want to share with you today that also made a difference for me is called The Aladdin Factor, and that was written by Jack Canfield and Mark Victor Hansen. And there's one thing from that book that really stood out for me and that I share with people often, and that was a line that said something like, if you don't ask, the answer is no. And that line has just impacted me in so many ways. I can't even begin to tell you how many times I have had the confidence and courage to ask for things that most people would think I was absolutely out of my mind to ask for, and yet I just had that line in the back of my head, well, if I don't ask, the answer is no, and if I do ask, there's a 50-50 chance I could get a yes. And surprisingly enough, I get yeses a lot more often than I would have expected, and I surprise other people too when I share some of my experiences with them. And I encourage you to try that yourself. If you ever are in a situation and you're afraid of asking for something, why not ask? I mean, if you don't ask, the answer is no. If you do ask, you might be surprised and get a yes. I also encourage you to share some books with me that you found impactful. Maybe you can share in the comments any books that have changed your life so that we can all learn from one another. So again, the 3 books that I found most impactful in my life that I've read: the first one, I Ain't Much Baby, But I'm All I've Got; the second book, Overcoming Perfectionism; and the third book, The Aladdin Factor. So I look forward to hearing about your books that you found valuable in your life. And if you'd like to contact me, feel free to visit me at my website at marisaferrera.com. So once again, I'm a soul-centered relationship coach helping you transform your relationships one conversation at a time. Bye for now.